Apparently, if you just choose not to be triggered, your body forgets it was even scared.
Well, actually...
Someone says something to you. Maybe a specific word, or a tone of voice. Maybe it's a smell, cheap cologne, or a particular kind of cigarette smoke, or the way something sounds on a Tuesday afternoon in autumn. Maybe nobody said anything at all. Maybe it was just the energy in a room that shifted. And before you can even process what just happened, your heart is hammering. Your jaw is clenched. Your stomach has dropped somewhere below your feet. Your hands are doing that thing where they don't quite feel like your hands anymore. You're not thinking clearly. You might feel hot. You might feel like crying for no reason you can name. And somewhere underneath all of that, there's this overwhelming sense that you are back somewhere you haven't been in years. That is not a metaphor. That is your body running a program. It wrote a long time ago. And right now, without your permission, it is executing it. Let's watch it happen. Here is what most people assume is going on when they get triggered. Something upsetting happens. It goes to your brain. Your brain thinks about it. Your brain decides it's upsetting. Your body reacts in that order. That is almost completely wrong. What actually happens is this. The moment your senses detect something, a sound, a smell, a gesture, a word, that signal travels along a fast, imprecise route directly to a small, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain called the amygdala. This route bypasses your thinking cortex almost entirely. The amygdala receives that signal in approximately 74 milliseconds. The part of your brain that handles conscious reasoning doesn't even know something happened yet. The amygdala doesn't care. It has already made a decision. Psychologist Daniel Goleman documented this in 1995 and called it the amygdala hijack. The word hijack is accurate. Your rational brain has been taken out of the loop before it could even sit down. The moment the amygdala decides there is a threat, it sends a distress signal down the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, a chain reaction that begins in your brain and ends in your adrenal glands, two small triangles of tissue sitting on top of your kidneys. Within seconds, your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with two chemicals, adrenaline, also called epinephrine, which hits fast, and cortisol, which follows close behind and stays much longer. Your heart rate accelerates, your blood vessels constrict in your digestive system and dilate in your muscles, and your liver dumps glucose into your blood. Your pupils dilate. Your bronchial tubes widen to pull in more oxygen. Your body is shunting every resource it has toward one goal. Survive this. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does nuance, context, long-term thinking, and choosing your words carefully, has been effectively switched off. The blood supply it relies on has been redirected. This is not a figure of speech. Neuroimaging studies show measurably reduced prefrontal activity during high-threat states. This is why, in a triggered state, you cannot think of the right thing to say. You literally cannot access it. The part of your brain that holds it has been deprioritized for survival. Now here's the part that most people don't realize. Your body is not reacting to what's happening now. It is reacting to a pattern it recognized. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio introduced the concept of somatic markers in 1994 in his book Descartes' Error. The idea is that your body doesn't just experience emotions, it files them. Every significant emotional event you have ever had has left a physical record inside you, a fingerprint in the nervous system, a pattern that connects a particular combination of sensory input to a particular physical state. And the critical piece is this: those patterns begin forming in childhood, before the part of your brain that stores explicit narrative memory is even fully developed. Children encode emotional experiences as sensation and body state, not a story, which means many of the programs running inside you right now were written before you had words for them. Your nervous system learned at some point in the past that the specific combination of sound and context and energy in a room means danger. And it stored that lesson not as a thought, as a sensation. This is why you can be triggered by something that, on the surface, makes no logical sense. A tone of voice that reminds you of something that happened when you were 9. A specific phrase. A smell. The quality of afternoon light on a bad day 20 years ago. Your thinking brain doesn't make the connection consciously. Your body already made it, instantly, before you had a chance to weigh in. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk spent decades studying what trauma does to the body. His 2014 book, The Body Keeps the Score, documents what he and his colleagues observed across thousands of patients. That traumatic memory is stored differently than ordinary memory. Ordinary memory is narrative. You can recall it as a story with a beginning and an end. You know what happened in the past. There's a timestamp on it. Traumatic memory is sensory and fragmentary. It lives in the body as sensation, not a story. A sound, a smell, a posture, a sudden constriction in the throat. When something triggers it, the body doesn't retrieve an old file with a date on it. It re-experiences. The nervous system fires as though the event is happening now, because as far as the subcortical brain is concerned, it might be, and there is no past tense in the amygdala. Neurologist Daniel Siegel describes what he calls the window of tolerance. Inside that window, you can think, feel, and respond. Your nervous system is regulated. The moment a trigger hits, you are thrown out of that window, either upward into hyperarousal, which feels like panic, rage, or that overwhelming restlessness where you can't sit still and everything is too loud, or downward into hyperarousal, which feels like numbness, collapse, disconnection, the way some people go completely flat and quiet and unreachable when they're overwhelmed. Both of the body doing exactly what it was designed to do. Hyperarousal is fight or flight. Hypoarousal is freeze. Well, the problem is that the original threat that trained your system to respond this way is no longer present. You are in a Tuesday afternoon in an ordinary room, and your body is executing a response it learned for a situation that is decades gone. Your heart is still hammering. Your hands still don't feel like your hands. And none of that is weakness or rationality or being dramatic. It is a survival system doing its job with outdated information. The process of coming back, what researchers call downregulation, moves through your autonomic nervous system in the opposite direction. Stephen Porges, who developed the polyvagal theory in 1994, identified what he called the vagal brake, a branch of the vagus nerve that, when activated, slows your heart rate and signals to your nervous system that the threat has passed. The vagal brake is activated by slow, extended exhales. The exhale specifically, not the inhale, is what triggers the parasympathetic response. It is also activated by the presence of a calm, open human face, by physical touch from someone you trust, by the prosodic range of a soothing human voice, the gentle rise and fall of it. These are not metaphors. They are measurable physiological shifts that show up in heart rate variability data. Your body is always listening for safety signals, the same way it is always scanning for threat signals. It runs both searches simultaneously, all day, every day. You are not thinking your way out of a triggered state. You're breathing your way out. Your body got there without your brain. It will leave the same way. There is one more thing worth knowing. The more often a particular trigger fires that response, the stronger the neural pathway connecting them becomes. Neuroscientists sometimes describe this with the phrase neurons that fire together, wire together. Each time your body runs the program, it consolidates it slightly more. This is not a flaw in the system. In an environment where the same danger keeps appearing, a faster and more certain response would be valuable. But it does mean that avoidance, while it feels like relief, doesn't actually reduce the sensitivity. It just means the pathway never gets the chance to learn that the threat has passed. Here is what this means in full. The tightness in your chest when a conversation goes a certain way. The automatic shutdown when a room gets loud. The disproportionate reaction to something small that in the moment feels enormous. It isn't a malfunction. It is a record. Your nervous system has been keeping notes on every significant thing that has ever happened to you, and it is reporting back in the only language it has: sensation, posture, breath, and the sudden, total certainty that something is wrong. The amygdala does not distinguish between then and now. The cortisol does not check the date. The somatic marker files the pattern. The body executes the response. And the thinking brain arrives 3 seconds later, trying to make sense of something that was already decided before it got there. You were responding to something real. It just happened a long time ago, and your body has been carrying it for you ever since.